How do I get rid of your clothes? Because you wore them. How do I move out of your house? Because you lived here. How do I throw out those papers? Because you wrote on them. Welcome to the Grieving Mom's Guide to Life. My name is Susan Fahidi and I'm a grieving mom. I am also a mindfulness life coach and grief advocate. So I missed a video last week because I had a whole pile of sick kids in my house. And this week, this video is really giving me a lot of anxiety to do because there's probably going to be a lot of changes coming in the next year in our life. And part of that is going to be letting go of things that were part of my daughter's life and moving away from those things. And part of that is due to my mental health, and part of it is moving for safety reasons, and part of it is it just needs to be done. But along with those things comes the challenge of why, as bereaved parents, is it so hard for us to let go of belongings, of stuff, just things that belong to our children when they're no longer here. I know a lot of parents with living children, and I probably was guilty of that as well, that, when my children grew, I didn't want to get rid of their toys, their favorite toys. As a matter of fact, my son is 28, he's almost 29 years old, my youngest son, and I still have one of his toys from when he was a child that was a very special thing for him. And I have, some of his blankets and some of my deceased children, I still have their baby clothes. And those things are really hard to let go of. But then when your child dies, it becomes that much harder to release things. A year ago, I got a new car, and it was, I needed a new car. I really needed a new car. My old car was starting to become no longer safe for me to drive, so I needed a new car. But my old car had a sunroof. And my son, Brandon, one day it was, I don't know if it was winter, or I don't even know when this happened, but you know how your windows get foggy and your kids write on them. Well, my kid was 27 years old, and he wrote in my sunroof, and he wrote, "I love you, Mom, Brandon." And I didn't know he did that. And then after he died one day, I opened up the interior part of the sunroof, like the cover, and the sun was hitting the sunroof in just a way that I could see the fingerprints that he left behind where he had written, "I love you, Mom." And it was probably 6 months after he died. And it was such a special message for me to receive after he was gone. And eventually, I had to get a new sunroof because when my daughter was in the hospital dying, my car was in the hospital parking lot, and somebody came and shattered my sunroof and tried to break into my car. But just knowing that that was there, when I had to get rid of my car and get a new one, knowing that it had been there, knowing that he sat in my car and did that, knowing that my daughter brought her daughter home from the hospital for the first time in that car, that all of my children were in that car at one time It was just a car. It was a car that was no longer being safe. And it was hard for me to release that car. And how do we release their belongings? Um, I'm in a smaller home, and um, I'm raising my daughter's children. So they have stuff, kids come with lots of stuff. And, if I'm not careful, it can become a real hoarding situation that I don't want to get rid of my children's things. And I think that that's a very normal thing for grieving parents to experience. I think it's a very normal thing for grieving parents to experience. It was the last things that our children touched. It was the last things that they had. They may still smell like our children. When my kids died, when Brandon died, he died first. And if you're new to this channel and you're not aware, my oldest son, Brandon, died in 2016 when he was 27 years old. And he had a 5-year-old daughter. She was 5 years old at the time. And my daughter, Bethany, she's my oldest child, and she died at 31 in 2019. And she has 2 children that I am currently raising. So when Brandon died, it was a little bit different because he was in transition in between homes, and he had moved out of his apartment, and all of his stuff was in storage as he was trying to make his way into a new home. And I was on a timeline to clear out the stuff and then the storage. So I had to get on it. I had to make decisions in my early grief. He had died in the middle of September, and I had basically until winter came to go through and decide what to do with his stuff. And a lot of it I had to let go of, and that was really, really difficult. But I still have stuff in totes in the basement, and there's some stuff at my parents that's in storage. And then when my daughter died, because I was going to be having custody of her children, I moved from my smaller home, which was just me and my youngest son, and we needed a bigger home, and my daughter's home was bigger, so we moved into her home. And I had some time where I had to kind of release her things, but because I was moving into her home, it was harder to release everything. So, I moved my dishes in with her dishes, and the kids maintain their bedrooms, but I moved my towels in with her towels, my bedding in with her bedding. And some of it I have, over the last 4 years, I've been able to manage to, release some of that stuff of hers. And a lot of it is in totes in the basement. And for me, because I have grandchildren and my children were adults when they died, I had decisions that I had to make on behalf of my grandchildren, because they have the right to decide what to do with their parents' belongings, what they want to keep, what means something to them, just like every other child when it's time for their parent to go, and they go in and they deal with their parents' things. And there's mementos from your childhood, there's cherished things that belong to your grandmother or your great-grandmother, or something that you have a memory of a birthday, and your mother used that bowl to bake your birthday cake, and it's something you want to keep. Well, my grandchildren were very young. My oldest granddaughter was 5. My oldest grandson was 12, and my youngest granddaughter was 4. They're not in a position to be able to make decisions on what they want to keep of their parents' belongings, or knowing what was what. I mean, They were just far too young. So I had to make decisions on their behalf. And that was really hard. That was extremely difficult. And it's still a difficult thing because I'm keeping my children's things so that their children can make a decision on. But like I said, within the next, probably sometime within the next year, I will be moving, and I have to bring this stuff with me. And I don't really want to do that because it weighs you down. It's heavy and it's just stuff. But then I feel the guilt that I can't release it because it belonged to my kids. I remember my son's favorite shirt. I remember my daughter's favorite outfit, or the blanket that she got that was made by her great aunt that was very special to her. There's so many things like that that I don't want to let go of, that I can't let go of. But I know that at some point I'm going to have to. It's a hard thing as a bereaved parent to release things that belong to your child. I think part of it is that we feel like if we're letting go of their things, we're letting go of them. We're letting go of our memories that we fear we will forget. I fear my grandchildren are going to forget their parents, my children. That is a real legitimate fear, and it is a reality. It is a real possibility that this could happen, because how many 4-year-olds do you know that lost their parent at 4 will remember them when they're 20, 30, 40, 50? And that breaks my heart. So if they have some of their things, then maybe they won't forget. Maybe nobody will forget. And we don't want our children to be forgotten after they've died. We want their lives to have made an impact on this world. We want their lives to have meant something and continue to mean something. So if you're a bereaved parent and you're having trouble letting go of your child's belongings, leave a comment below. Tell us how you feel about it. Tell us what your challenges are, and maybe where you've had some success in being able to release some things. You know, tips and tricks for other bereaved parents can always be helpful. But let's have a conversation about it. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. Please like my videos. Let me know that I'm hearing from you. I think that a lot of people aren't making it to the ends of my video. And, you know, that's a little heartbreaking because I pour my heart and soul into these videos, and it's quite raw emotion most of the time. So, you know, let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're seeing this. Let me know that this means something to you. Well, I'll see you on the next video. Love you guys.